Welcome to Recap King. In this video, we will explain Silmi. This movie tells a story of a group of death row convicts trained by the South Korean government to become intruders in North Korea. But unfortunately, when the troops were ready to be dispatched, North Korea had made a peace agreement with South Korea so that they would be executed by the South Korean government, considering that the group was not official and had never been registered with the government's official military forces. So, what will happen to the troops? Let's find out in Silmi. Silmi begins by showing South Korea and North Korea are experiencing political conflict due to their ideological differences. The crisis is at risk of culminating in a military conflict. This political tension did not only occur between North Korea and South Korea, but disputes began to occur within the government of the South Korean state itself. At that time, many South Korean government officials were randomly attacked by unknown people. That night, a hitman named Kong-in is on his mission to kill a South Korean government official. Kong-in and his men came to a party attended by the official and immediately attacked. The fight between his group and the official's men was unavoidable. At that time, Kong-in immediately went to the government official's room and killed him with a knife. Unfortunately, their action was discovered by the police, so Kong-in had to immediately run away. The pursuit didn't last long because the police officers caught him and took him to the police station. The court then sentenced Kong-in to death for killing a high-ranking government official. The day before Kong-in was executed by the police, a general named Jae-hoon came to see him and gave him a deal. General Jae-hoon offers him to be one of the special government soldiers sent to North Korea, and as compensation, he will be released from the death penalty. Hearing this, Kong-in decided to agree as he would rather die on the battlefield than die at the hands of the executioner. A few days later, Kong-in and 30 other prisoners were taken to an island called Silmi Island by boat. In the middle of the voyage, some of the prisoners started making noise and fighting with each other. Finally, seeing conditions getting out of control, a man who served as commander named Joe decided to open fire on their ship. Commander Joe then threw a grenade into the boat the prisoners were riding on, so they had to jump into the water and swim until they reached the mainland of the island of Silmi. After everyone has arrived on the mainland, General Jae-hoon explains to the prisoners that their mission this time is to take revenge on North Korea for sending mercenaries to conduct an attempt to assassinate the president, Park Chung-hee. Therefore, the South Korean government deliberately formed a secret special force to infiltrate North Korea and carry out a counterattack by killing Kim Il-sung. This secret special force is named the Military Force 684, and the only people who know about this army are General Jae-hoon and Commander Joe. The next day, all the prisoners began to undergo strenuous and stressful military training. They are all trained for days to be able to face all the risks and challenges they will face in North Korea in the future. In the evening, all the prisoners were gathered on the beach and began to be stung with hot irons on their backs in turns. The prisoners who could not endure it immediately entered the seawater, leaving the 3 strongest prisoners, namely Kong-in, Sung-pil, and Gun-jae. The 3 were then appointed as leaders of 3 groups of 10 prisoners. From that day on, they began to undergo group training to increase the synergy and solidarity. The group trained to cross the ravine using a rope bridge when doing the exercise. Any group late in crossing would be fired upon from below by the military officers on duty. One of Kong-in's group members suddenly couldn't continue training because he was exhausted. Kong-in then ordered the member to hang from the rope so that the other members could pass. When Kong-in returned to cross the rope bridge to pick up his sick member, the member suddenly fell onto the rocks because he couldn't hang anymore. Kong-in looks sad and disappointed because he can't help his members. In the following days, all the prisoners began their training in earnest because they wanted to die honorably as soldiers for their country. As a result, their abilities have improved greatly, and they can pass every challenge well. That night, Commander Joe, feeling that the 684 military force was ready for battle, immediately ordered them to sail to North Korea and carry out their mission. General Jae-hoon and Commander Joe, along with the official military forces, immediately paid their respects to the 684 military troops who had started leaving for North Korea. All soldiers rode with enthusiasm and were full of nationalism to defend their country. Shortly after, General Jae-hoon received a call from the government's leadership to cancel the mission of Military Forces 684, because at this time, North Korea had made a peace agreement with South Korea. Jae-hoon immediately orders Commander Joe to pick up Military Forces 684 to bring them back to Silmi Island. After that, all the prisoners on Silmi Island began their training unenthusiastically and lazily. Military Troop 684 felt that their chance to defend their country and die with honor on the battlefield had now been lost. That night, two soldiers began to feel bored, planning to escape from the island of Silmi, considering the condition of the seawater at that time was receding. But before that, they decided to come to the health post to spend the night with the female military doctor. Knowing that two of the 684 soldiers had disappeared, Commander Joe immediately scolded the military officers and ordered the entire squad to look for them. Unfortunately, two soldiers having fun with a female doctor realized that Commander Joe and his troops are looking for them. They decided to end their lives because they felt very ashamed and guilty. Unfortunately, one of them was rescued and captured by military officers. After that incident, all members of the 684 military force had to serve sentences from military officers simultaneously. Kong In, who was fed up with the soldiers' behavior, felt very angry and began to chase him to death. After that, Kong In asked Commander Joe to send military troops 684 to the battlefield. After all, they would rather die honorably on the battlefield for their country than die in executions. The next morning, General Jae-hyun came to his leader's office and asked the government to make Military Force 684 an official military force. Unfortunately, the leadership rejected the request because it was not within his authority. At the same time, a military leader named General Oh ordered General Jae-hyun to disband 684 military forces and execute them. Hearing this, General Jae-hyun felt very angry and disappointed because all the prisoners of the 684 military force had been undergoing military training without stopping for their country. However, he couldn't refuse General Oh's orders because General Jae-hyun and the other military troops were threatened with death by the government. That night, General Jae-hyun informs Commander Joe and Commander Park about the order. Hearing this, Commander Joe immediately opposes the plan and chooses to depart from the mission. Meanwhile, Commander Park, who did not want himself and his military troops killed, decided to carry out the massacre of the 684 military troops. Unbeknownst to them, Kong In overheard all these conversations and immediately informed all members of the 684 military force. The next morning, Commander Joe decided to go to the city to guard the collection of military logistics. On the other hand, Military Forces 684, knowing that they were about to be executed, decided to launch a rebellion in self-defense. That night, Kong In and the others immediately prepared to attack the official military forces and Commander Park. The shootout between the official military forces and the 684th military forces was fierce, until all buildings on the island of Silmi were destroyed. During the battle, Kong In entered General Jae-hyun's barracks, but he could not kill General Jae-hyun, who had been instrumental in training him. Then, unexpectedly, General Jae-hyun decided to end his own life instead of having to execute the 684 military troops. After that, Kong In rejoined the other 684 military forces to fight against the military forces. On the other hand, while Goon Jae is mourning his best friend's death, he is shot from behind by Commander Park. But not long after that, Commander Park was finally cornered and shot dead successively by the entire 684 military force. At the last moment, he said that all their identities had been hidden by the government so that they would never be considered military forces of the South Korean government. After that, Military Forces 684 decided to go to the capital and protested against the government's willingness to formalize their military force as official troops. The next morning, they went to the Blue House in the capital by hijacking a bus. Unfortunately, news of the hijacking of the bus had spread widely, and they were even accused of being communist soldiers. In the middle of the journey, they were forced to face the government's official military forces that had been prepared to prevent them from heading to the Blue House. As a result, one of their members died, and the sadness of the Military Force 684 began to peak. When they arrived in the capital, they had to face many special military forces. Commander Joe, who heard the news about them, immediately went to the location to rescue them. He tried to convince the captains of the troops in the capital that the 684 military forces were not a communist group but a government military force formed in secret. However, Commander Joe's words were ignored by the captain of the military troops there. Military Forces 684, seeing that Commander Joe could not save them, felt demoralized to continue their plan. Soon Pil even says that he regrets taking captives to go through military training on the island of Silmi. After all, they now had no other choice but to face all the military forces around them. The shootout between the 684 military forces and the government military forces finally happened again. All members of the 684 military force began to die one by one, while the remaining members tried to write their names on the bus wall using blood to show that they had existed and had nationalism to defend their country. However, they are feeling very sad and disappointed with the government, which has now betrayed them. At the same time, all the bus passengers who were still trapped in the bus immediately got out and left the same way to save themselves. At the last moment, all members of Military Force 684 decided to perform their national hymn before finally being killed by blowing themselves up with grenades. Commander Joe, who saw the incident, immediately ran towards the bus they boarded, crying sadly. However, he feels guilty and responsible for what happened to them. After the bus explosion, many media reported Military Forces 684 as a communist group who wanted to rebel against the government. All this happened because the government had hidden the true identity of every member of the 684 military force and was unwilling to convert them into the government's official military force. This action by the South Korean government is very unfortunate, considering that all prisoners who became military troops fought desperately to defend their country and have served with a high spirit of nationalism. Fortunately, Commander Joe never gave up and kept on fighting so he could restore the good name of all the prisoners who joined the military force. Several years later, when the military dictatorship in South Korea ended, Commander Joe revealed the truth about Military Forces 684 to the media and public. Now the people of South Korea can finally know the real truth and recognize all the dedication and sacrifices made by the 684 military forces. The government has named the 684 military troops trained on the island of Silmi as heroes who have served the country. The moral that can be learned from this movie, and the most memorable things, is how a person struggles desperately to show his existence or presence in society. To that end, we should all try to do the same in some way, showing who we are and what we can do for society.